Rogue One's smartest plot confirmed the oldest Star Wars theory. One genius plot in Rogue One. A Star Wars story confirmed an early Star Wars theory and resolved one of the first major issues in Star Wars movies and TV shows. Although Rogue One is one of the most recently released Star Wars movies, it was essential to fill in certain parts of the Star Wars timeline. Set just before A New Hope, Rogue One provided brand new insights into the efforts of the Rebels and the creation and use of the Death Star. This is in part what made Rogue One one of Star Wars' best movies, as it offered a unique boots-on-the-ground perspective on the early days of the Galactic Civil War. In addition to that, Rogue One addressed some of the lingering plot holes and questions of that era. One plot point in particular had been a major complaint for Star Wars audiences all the way back in 1977, and it was finally resolved with a key arc in Rogue One. The Death Star's vulnerability had always seemed absurd. A New Hope was an obvious success, and it kicked off what has become one of the biggest franchises the world over today. Yet, one of the most significant moments in the movie has long been criticized. That is, from the very beginning, Star Wars audiences have found it difficult to believe that the Death Star was destroyed that easily. Yes, Luke Skywalker had used the Force to blow up the Death Star, and at that point, the Force was only loosely defined and downright mythical. Even with that explanation, though, many took issue with how quickly and seemingly easily this massive planet-destroying weapon was taken down. Luke's limited experience didn't help matters, as his childhood on Tatooine and very recent introduction to the larger galaxy made this even more mind-boggling. Many took issue with how quickly and seemingly easily this massive planet-destroying weapon was taken down. Because of that, there have long been theories that somehow the Death Star was made to have this vulnerability on purpose. That isn't meant to discredit or diminish what Luke Skywalker accomplished in A New Hope, but rather to make his ability to destroy the Death Star more believable. As it was, this was simply too convenient an end for Darth Vader's most powerful weapon. Rogue One confirmed the Death Star's weakness was intentional. Rogue One finally confirmed this theory by revealing that Galen Erso intentionally built a weakness into the Death Star so that the Rebels could destroy it. For years, Jyn had believed that after being taken by the Empire, her father, Galen, had truly become an Imperial. Galen was instead playing the long game, though, pretending to have developed an allegiance to the Empire, all while ensuring that, with the Death Star plans in the hands of the Rebellion, the Empire's greatest weapon would be destroyed. This was ultimately Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor's final mission, as getting the plans to Leia Organa herself would claim their lives. Their losses were certainly far from being in vain, though, as this ended up being one of the most important missions throughout the entire Galactic Civil War. This also confirmed what audiences had long suspected, and it did so in a way that only improved all that Luke Skywalker and the Rebels managed to do in Star Wars. Rogue One's Death Star reveals made A New Hope even better. As mentioned, this update to the story of the Death Star in Star Wars didn't discredit what Luke Skywalker accomplished. Instead, Rogue One's added context for the destruction of the Death Star made A New Hope so much better. Most obviously, this explanation finally addressed the problems audiences had long had with the quick and relatively easy destruction of the Death Star. For another go, Rogue One proved that it wasn't just the members of the Skywalker family tree who saved the galaxy. Rogue One proved that it wasn't just the members of the Skywalker family tree who saved the galaxy. On the contrary, there were countless heroes, many of whom will never even have their names known, who were absolutely essential to overthrowing the Empire. In Rogue One, this not only included Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor, who gave their lives for the cause, but also Galen, who had been working within the Empire itself to tear it down. Luke Skywalker is certainly still credited with blowing up the Death Star, but he also wasn't alone. Rogue One, A Star Wars story therefore gave this previously questionable plot point in Star Wars the perfect explanation and the perfect legacy.